Peter here, aka Peter Freakout 10, bringing you guys our episode of the movie review show where the good movies are always reviewed. Okay, back into our movie review. And you know what time it is? It's that special time of year. Can anybody guess what it is? No? I'll give you a hint. It's December, and Christmas is coming! Heck yeah, that special time of year is here already. Christmas. A time when there has to be nothing else on anybody's mind but presents, snow, Santa, cookies, food, and, of course, your Christmas movies. So today, we're going to start decking the halls with some good old-fashioned Christmas movies, and 'tis the season to be jolly because we got some great ones planned. Heck yeah. Alright. And to start off this wonderful time of year, I'm going to do a review of films that air during Christmas. As a lot of people may say, that's not Christmas related, but they're kind of set during Christmas, and they do air during the holidays, so figured why not watch and review them. And I was actually going to review the first two in this particular series as a Thanksgiving special, but as you guys know, work is kind of getting in the way. On top of that, you guys haven't seen too many videos from me recently, so I had to put that off to the side. And I was going to review the third and the fourth one as a Christmas special, but I figured, you know what? Since I already have the reviews for the first two written up, figured why not add those into the Christmas special, or the Christmas reviews, I should say, and go along from there and add and pretty much review the other stuff in a particular order in the years they came out. Because there's another film with this particular actor that I actually want to talk about, and I'm prepared to talk about this film today. I already gave it away, but you'll know which one we're talking about soon. But getting into it, we're talking about a film that, what to say about it? Literally, what to say? This is a movie that, quite honestly, I think needs no introduction. Every movie buff has seen this. Every movie or every person who's on the planet has seen this film. I have not met a single person who has not seen this film. This is a movie that is quite literally a historical movie. It's one of those movies that everybody talks about, everybody parodies, and it's easy to see why. It's so looked upon as this classic. It's a movie that is inspirational, it's smart, and it has so much going for it that I cannot wait to cover in this review. And what film is that, you may be asking? Rocky, baby. Heck yeah. Now, for those wondering, I actually have the first four Rocky movies in this 4-pack that I got. This has Rocky, Rocky 2, Rocky 3, and Rocky 4. I don't know why they didn't put the fifth one on there. Yeah, very nice DVD set. What a really cool one at that. You have Rocky, Rocky 2, Rocky 3, and Rocky 4. Oh, those are double-sided. I like that picture on the back with Rocky by the statue. So, yeah. Very good DVD. But talking about the first one, Rocky was a film made back in 1976, and this was directed by John G. Avildsen, who would go on to direct the fifth Rocky movie, Rocky V. He also directed the Karate Kid trilogy, Desert Heat. And in order to talk about this movie, you have to talk about the man who brought this film to life. The man who made this film the classic that it is. And if it isn't for him, this film wouldn't have been made, and it wouldn't be as historically thought upon as it is today. And who is that man? That man is none other than Sylvester Stallone. Hallelujah! 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 I had to do that. You see, a lot of people know Stallone for the movies that he has done now and the cash that he is raking in. But what if I told you life wasn't always like this for Sly? You see, Stallone found himself poor and living in Hell's Kitchen with his then wife at the time, Sasha, and his dog Buckus, who has an appearance in this movie. He was low on money, and it was almost to the point where he was ready to sell his dog, Buckus, I already gave the name, but he had one dream on his mind, though. There was one dream that he did not want to abandon, and everybody has a dream on their mind, and this one is one of them. That dream was to become an actor. He started off having small roles in such films such as The Square Root, Downhill Racer, MASH, and most infamously, The Party at Kitty and Studs, which I don't want to go into because it's some of the creepiest stuff you will ever see. Or if you want to see Stallone's penis. I am not kidding with you. That literally happens. My God. I haven't seen it. I don't want to see it after hearing that. It was actually changed, though, to the title The Italian Stallion after this film became a big success. So, yeah. He was also in many others, such as Death Race 2000, which actually had David Carradine in it. But that all changed when he was watching a boxing match between world-class boxer Muhammad Ali and Chuck Wepner, which lasted for 15 rounds and ended with a knockout from Muhammad Ali to Chuck. Stallone became inspired for Rocky after watching the fight and worked on the script for 3.5 days. Speculation continues to circle around other forms of inspiration, though, because they see that Stallone took influence from Joe Frazier or Rocky Maricino, who are actually mentioned in the film. And so, as he was after he finished writing the film, Stallone shopped around, and it landed in the hands of MGM United Artists, who attempted to bring in such actors as Robert Redford, James Caan, Burt Reynolds, or even Ryan O'Neal to play the part of Rocky. Sly objected to this, though, and insisted the character should be played by him due to the fact that not only was this his creation, but he also felt he would never forgive himself if the film became a big hit with someone playing him. This worried producers, though, due to the fact that Sly was an unknown celebrity at the time, which I think now they regret thinking that, considering where he's going, but nevertheless, they gave him the chance to play the part and brought in John G. Avildsen to direct the film and promised to greenlight the film if the budget was kept low at like $1 million, which put some pressure when they went into casting process because it made it more difficult because the budget contributed to particular actors originally chosen to drop out. Over money disputes, or even the actors they were portraying that were ready to portray the characters didn't meet the necessary qualities for their characters. And on top of that, the team couldn't afford to have extras in particular scenes of the film, so Sly had to bring in his old family to serve as extras. For example, one of the scenes, his father played the bell ringer to signal the start of the fight. At the end of the round, his brother Frank, who actually has an appearance in the movie Hudson Hawk, played a street singer. And even his wife worked on the still photography. And certain elements of the story had to be changed as it started shooting in Pennsylvania because of the low budget. Like the ice skating section, which was supposed to be open and filmed with many people, had to be changed because they couldn't afford extras for that scene. There were other elements that were changed that I'm actually happy about. Like, for example, Mickey was supposed to be a racist. Why? And Rocky decides that he was originally going to give up the fight and because he decided boxing wasn't for him. I don't know what they were thinking when they wrote that. If they did that today, I don't think the film would have been regarded as a classic. Or if they went with that ending, I should say, the film wouldn't be regarded as a classic. But thankfully we didn't get that version. But as they were shooting, Stallone did most of his own fighting and actually suffered a lot of injuries with Carl Weathers, one of the main actors. But they eventually pulled through and finished the film. So after all that, the movie was given a New York City premiere of November 21st, 1976, and eventually a Christmas season deadline of December 3rd, 1976, where it grossed $117 million. and it became the second highest grossing film of 1976. And the film was also met with huge critical acclaim from critics and audiences. Roger Ebert awarded the film 4 out of 4 stars, praising the film's story, message, and performance, especially from Stallone, who he said is the equivalent of a young Marlon Brando. Box Office Magazine also said critics will be touting Stallone as the new star. There were also critics who didn't like the film, criticized it for being cliched, or Stallone's acting, which I think they look back and regret, especially with how far Stallone has gone. I'll touch upon those films in the future. But nevertheless, the film received many awards such as Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Original Screenplay, Best Supporting Actor, and many others. Many years later, the film has become a landmark in film history. On Rotten Tomatoes, it carries a 93% and an 8.1 on IMDb. And it's become a film that has become an inspiration for many people, whether it be in their personal lives or to make a movie, to use influence from this film to teach them to go further and not doubt themselves. And I could see why. This movie is one of the greatest movies ever made. You see, my dad actually showed this to me when I was in 4th grade, and it has become one of the greatest movies ever for me, and puts Stallone in my list of one of my all-time favorite actors, and one of the most influential people in my life. And I think it goes the same for other people, but I'll get into more into why later, why I love this film. But with the cast, as I said, you got Sylvester Stallone playing Rocky Balboa, who was also the writer on this movie. He also would go on to do the Rambo trilogy, Cobra, Over the Top, Judge Dredd, Tango and Cash, Lock Up, The Specialist, and Assassins. You have Talia Shire, who reprises her role in the sequel. She was in the Godfather trilogy, Prophecy, and I Heart Huckabees. And originally, they were going to have Susan Sarandon to play her, but they decided not to because she was too pretty. You also got Burt Young, who was in Amityville 2: The Possession. He was in Back to School, Convoy, and that god-awful Going Overboard. You got Carl Weathers as your main, well, I wouldn't say bad guy, I'll get into why later, but Apollo Creed, that's the character's name, but he would reprise his role in the next 3 sequels. He was in Predator, he was Chubbs in A Happy Gilmore and Little Nicky, 8 Crazy Nights, he's going to be in the video game Mercenaries Playground of Destruction. You also have Burgess Meredith, who was in Clash of the Titans. He reprises his role in Rocky 2, 3, and 5. Camp Nowhere, he was in the 2 Grumpy Old Men films, Grumpy Old Man, Grumpy Earl Man. Joe Spinell, who would later go on to be in that controversial slasher film of 1980, Maniac, and he would be in Rocky 2 and Nighthawks, where he and Stallone had a falling out and decided to never work with each other again. But yeah, this film is a classic, and it's remembered by many people for good reasons, and it should be continued to be remembered. But I'll explain why later, though. But with the plot of the film, in the town of Philadelphia, in an Italian neighborhood, lives a local southpaw boxer named Robert Rocky Balboa, played by Sylvester Stallone, who has the ring name of the Italian Stallion. And he spends his day either fighting in the ring, visiting the gym, or doing dirty jobs for this guy named Gazzo, played by Joe Spinell, or visiting the local pet store where he has his eyes set on a very shy worker named Adrian, who you get the idea she's like that because her brother Paulie, who Rocky also hangs out with, played by Burt Young, is an uncaring alcoholic who constantly berates her and abuses her because at times he's unhappy with what his sister has become. And despite his loving, caring nature, Rocky himself is also berated by everybody. Gazzo, particular people in the neighborhood, the people at the gym, because of the level he's currently at and the poor environment he surrounds himself in. Heck, his old trainer, Mickey Burgess Meredith, even pushes him to the side. But all that changes when the heavyweight champion boxer named Apollo Creed announces that he is holding a title bout in Philadelphia, but 5 weeks before the deadline, he finds out that his contender broke his hand, and the professional contenders that they tried to go with all are picked or either unavailable. So he decides to take things in a different direction and pick a local contender. So he decides to go with Rocky. And the result of this makes Rocky start to get a little more recognized, and it helps him get closer with Adrian. Heck, even Mickey volunteers to help him. But as the fight gets closer and closer, his decision to take on the fight really starts to impact those around him. So Rocky starts to question whether having faith in himself and faith of those around him is enough to win this fight. Will he be able to win this fight and go the distance, or will Apollo eat lightning, or will Apollo eat light? You got it. Eat lightning and crap thunder all over Rocky till he's nothing but bones and dust. Best impression I could do, but what the hell needs to be said about Rocky? Absolutely nothing, because it has all been said already, and for good reasons. And I think it starts with the story, because the story is so many different things. It's a drama, it's a sports movie, a love story, and it's an uplifting tale about this man finding out he has the strength in him to show that he can have a place in the world. And maybe what lead into a particular situation can cause for those around you, good or bad, whether you go into that particular situation, the good it can cause you. Or even if there is bad, you're able to fight for yourself and show that you can have a place. And Stallone crafts Rocky as a character that I think we all can relate to. I think there's a part of Rocky everybody can relate to, whether it's the courageous part he has, the underdog aspect of the character, or the fact that he will try to be nice to people and sometimes they don't see the strength that we do carry and they put us down. I think Rocky I think can have us relate to him in more ways than one also, and it just isn't about the action fight at the end. It's actually about the struggle he has to go through to show that he can gain the strength to raise his fist and shout, "I can do this." And that message is conveyed perfectly. So the story has the story that I think you can relate to in many ways than just the sport. And it has this great motivational side to it. And I think anybody can follow, relate to, or even get motivated by. So the story is phenomenal. It has a great charm to it. It has an uplifting tale. And it's just done really well. And Stallone's writing really helps the character. In terms of directing, John G. Avildsen, I think, does a great job directing. You could tell when he directs a film like this or The Karate Kid, he really understands the underdog aspect of the character. It really sets out to pace the film as a fantastic character study on the character of Rocky, and really perfectly displays him at the beginning at the bottom of the barrel, and then starts to get more attention. It really starts to affect those around them, whether they feel bad that he's down on himself, that he can't gain the strength in him to do this match, whether they feel jealous of the attention he's getting. It's all realistic, and it's all paced perfectly. In the moments when you have those slow moments with the characters, they still feel like a lot is happening. And it never slows the film down because the characters themselves are so interesting. And Stallone's writing is so strong, combined with the directing of John G. Avildsen. They blend together. They blend together perfectly and really make it feel like it never slows down or boring. I also like the fact that the film is shot well. For a low budget, the film it looks really good. On a technical aspect, it shouldn't seem like much. In fact, it really isn't trying to be artsy or fancy with angles. It's definitely more about its story and characters, but the directing is solid throughout. Because it just has this feel to it. I like the shots of the fight, which I'll get to, and it looks really good. It looks really good. Just the first scene when you see Rocky walking down the street at night and he passes by those guys, and it just looks really good. Definitely looks really good. It's subtle with its angles. It's not over the top. That'd be a later Stallone movie, but it's done really well. So, yeah. Moving on, the acting in this film is phenomenal. The biggest contender being Sylvester Stallone as Rocky, who from day one was born for this part. Because not only did he write this movie, but he practically put himself and the hole he was in when writing this film. Rocky is practically him. And I love his performance because it's the equivalent of an individual who, as I said earlier, we've all felt like at some point in our lives. He portrays him as this lovable individual with a heart of gold, with the spirit of a warrior who makes use of where he is at the moment. Like, you see at night him wandering the streets, going to the pet store, where you get the idea that those, along with the other dude, Paulie, everybody picks on him, like his boss, played by Joe Spinell, who berates him because he doesn't break a guy's thumb for not getting his money, and they become more impatient with him. You really feel for him. You really feel for the character, what he's going through. And when he gets chosen to take part in the match with Apollo, he's excited to do it, but at the same time he's worried. And he's afraid he's going to lose, but has to remind himself, you know what, even if I don't win this fight, I'm going to go the distance. And I feel Stallone's performance works so well because he's so empathetic as this character. It really portrays him realistically. Like any boxer would go through a fight, even when he fires back at Mickey, who all of a sudden now wants to help him, it's an understandable reaction. Sorry, I can't talk tonight. And he maintains that likability throughout the film. Never does he try to take advantage of the fame he's receiving or try to neglect his family. And Stallone just embodies this character to the point where I can't see anybody playing him. I really cannot see anybody playing him. Especially the scene where he has to work out. You could tell he's sort of like, oh my god, I gotta get into this fight. I gotta get into it. Just that alone makes it work so well. So Stallone was fantastic. Then there's Carl Weathers as Apollo Creed, and he's the biggest fighter in the world at the moment in this film. He's really competitive, and he's more concerned with maintaining his ego. And he's not necessarily like a terrible evil person. He's more of a stuck-up celebrity who wants to fulfill his ego. So he technically isn't really a villain. He's just more of an annoyance. But I liked him in this film. I thought he played a really good stuck-up guy, and I love the moments where he basically tries to hype up the fight to the point where it's a monster movie. He spends his time watching his interviews. And his presence is nothing more than him being annoyed, rather than him coming up with an evil plan. It's more about him wanting to keep his fame up. And I respect the movie for not making him an evil person and instead making him a celebrity who's just stuck up. Then, of course, you got Talia Shire as Adrian, who before this had a small role in The Godfather. So she had a big start, unlike Stallone. I think she's the sweetest character in this movie. At the beginning, you see her as this shy individual who really doesn't talk much. She spends her time in the house or at the pet store with the birds, and Rocky keeps coming in to talk to her. And when she goes out, she wears this huge coat, this hat and glasses, and when he takes her out on that date, ice skating, it may seem awkward, but she starts to like him. And he invites her to an apartment where she's still shy, but at that scene, you see Rocky helping her come out of her shell, like take off the glasses, the hat, and they begin to like each other. And I thought she did a great job. You really feel bad for her. You want her to get with Rocky, and when they do, they have great chemistry. Even though when Paulie sees this, he doesn't approve of it. Speaking of Paulie, Burt Young plays him. And he definitely isn't one of those characters that is likable, especially when you see him making fun of his sister. Like, the second thought that's Joe Spinell. But he's like talking junk on her, calling her stupid. But there were some points that had me laughing with him. When he flips out in the living room because he wants Rocky to get him a job with Tony, and he gets mad that he doesn't get him to work, so he gets mad and grabs a bat and destroys the living room. That part had me laughing. Just how he's screaming, and just the big deal that he's making out of it, and just how jealous he's becoming of Rocky. And that he spends most of his time working in a meat packing plant, like... He's like, he's like, I helped him. It's my attention. I thought he did a good job. I thought he played a really good stuck-up guy. Last of the main cast is, of course, Mickey, played by Burgess Meredith, a fantastic actor who's sadly no longer with us. May he rest in peace. But he did a great job. He may seem like an unlikable jerk, but you get the idea. It seems like he knows Rocky has something in him, but feels like he doesn't show it because he has no faith in himself. But he still comes off as a sort of coach to Rocky. And even though you understand why he yelled at him, you feel bad. And just what he says. And just, you like him. You like his character. Even though, yeah, you can understand, you still feel bad for the old man. Because he's like, okay, I wised up. But eventually he does go out and say, you know what, I apologize. But you know what? His quotes are awesome. Nothing will ever replace his quotes. That's the one thing. You're gonna eat lightning and crap thunder. Those were awesome. Burgess Meredith did a great job. So the acting was great from everybody. There's really no one in the cast that does a bad job. And also the training sequences. How can you go through talking about a Rocky movie without talking about the training sequences? Because they are practically the highlight of the film. I love how when he first does the training on his own, you see him running at night and eating the eggs, and he's so tired he can't even run up the steps without becoming tired, but then he starts to become into it, and you have that great montage with that awesome song playing, Gonna fly now, flying high now, which really gets your blood pumping, and you really start shouting, you can do it, and as he's like doing the punching bags, doing the sit-ups, and running up the art museum steps, it all shows how he's developing, and he's gaining the strength to fight, and it comes down to the final fight, and the boxing scenes are also done fantastically. They're shot well, and just how the final fight goes, and the fact that these guys were really throwing punches at each other, it just shows how committed they were to making this look realistic. And it's an epic final. I won't spoil it, because you gotta see it, but this film is fantastic. It really is a classic. And honestly, I never found anything wrong watching this movie. I was fine watching it. I never once found anything that slowed it down or made me take a star off this film. This movie is just pure gold. So when it comes down to it, bottom line, Rocky is a pure cinema gold that you need, is a pure cinema gold bar, I should say, that really needs to be seen once before you die. So I oblige everybody to go see Rocky. Rocky is a fantastic film that should be seen by anybody. Young or old, you need to see this film eventually. So overall, I give Rocky a 10 out of 10, and it deserves it. And it therefore gets my seal of definite approval. Definitely one that you need to check out, no matter what. So, Rocky is just pure gold that should not be missed. So, yeah. But that's my review for Rocky, and next time I'm going to do a review of Rocky 2, which I have right here. I get it out, and then afterwards I'm going to talk about Rocky 3, which I can't show the disc because of the fact that because there's no artwork on the disc. But moving on, I'm also going to do a review of Rambo First Blood. This is one I've been wanting to talk about for a while. It's set during Christmas, so I figure why not talk about it, but there's that. And then I'm going to do a review of Trading Places. This is another one that I've been wanting that I was actually going to talk about last year, but I never got around to it. Trading Places. And then after that we do Rocky 4. Talk about that later, but anyway. I'll see you guys later. Let me know in the comments below if you guys have seen Rocky. What do you guys think of it? Be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.